It's just like finding what your role is. And sometimes someone on the sideline, they lead the cheers, and that's the only thing you're going to do the whole entire season. But that means so much to our team, and like having a fun and inviting sideline that is into it and prepared to go in, but at the same time, like rallying the sidelines, rallying the fans. And it's like a momentum changer. This is a game of momentum. We know that. The Side Out Foundation knows that. We talk about that all the time. So I think just like having people that buy into that. There's literally so many roles you can come up with. Who carries the waters? Who hands them out at timeouts? if my person doesn't hand me my water at timeout, that could be a big deal. You know, like everything is so important. So just like figuring out what your role is and buying into it is literally the most important thing you can do.
This is the Leave It Better podcast, powered by the Side Out Foundation. Here's your host, Hall of Fame coach, Janice Kruger.
Today, my guest on the Leave It Better podcast is the super-powered Molly Phillips, who has so many amazing attributes that we're going to try to share with everybody, and how she leaves the world a better place, because I watch you do this all the time. I'm not sure I've ever noticed you when that is not happening with your person. You're pretty amazing. Molly just finished up her college eligibility, and in quite a fashion, by being a part of the University of Texas volleyball team. And there she was a part of winning 2 national championships in 22 and 23. And soon as that was over, she has a little more eligibility left, and she skips Texas and heads to California and is at the University of Southern California and makes their beach team there. The beach team goes on to win their national championship. Molly was a part of that. And I think there may have only been maybe one other person that has been able to accomplish a feat of winning a indoor championship and a beach championship, but I don't think they were in the same year. I think you're kind of sitting on a pedestal.
As of now.
And gosh, how'd that make you feel?
It was awesome. It was a whirlwind of a year for sure. Lots of change and just kind of adapting to everything that was happening, but it was so much fun. And I just had the best teammates and people around me that made it all possible. So super cool experience. Yeah.
So let's just go, University of Texas, you got recruited to go there. Was this your dream place? Was this the spot, like, I really want to play for Jared Elliott. I really want to be on that Texas team. Tell us a little bit about your beginnings there.
Yeah. I would say it wasn't my dream school until it was. So I never really grew up with a school that I was dying to go to. My parents never really pressured me into going to their alma mater or anything like that. So I kind of had an open mind going into my recruiting process, and they kind of came into the game kind of late. That's kind of how they recruit in general, just kind of seeing how you develop, and then late as in my freshman year of high school. Not that late now, but in the grand scheme of how it was going, it was late. So after they kind of started talking to me, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is a great school close to home. And then I went on my first visit, and I fell in love with it. And I was like, this is where I want to go. No questions asked. And I had 4 final visits that I took, and Texas was my first one I went to. And I was told my parents, I was like, I want to go to Texas. And they're like, okay, let's just make sure we go to the other ones first and see if it's really where you want to go. And going on those visits just reassured me even more that this is where I want to be. And it truly was the best experience ever. I'm so glad that 16-year-old me decided that's where she wanted to go. It paid off, and it was really cool.
Yeah, 16. That's a big decision at that time. And sometimes now it's even earlier, right?
Yeah. Well, they've changed the rules now, thankfully. So it's a year later now. It's your junior year, I think, summer of your junior year.
Yay for those youngsters.
I know. It's literally the biggest blessing, and they probably don't realize it, but I was way too young to be making that decision. So
sounds like both your parents went to Texas.
No, they went to Abilene Christian.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So, they were mentioned me going there, but, I never really, I grew up in Abilene, and I was I want to go somewhere else, but yeah.
When you started, was beach or sand actually a NCAA sport in your freshman year?
Yes, it was. I think a few years before that is when it started. It definitely wasn't big, and I think like only a handful of Texas schools had it, so I really didn't know what it was either. I knew I wanted to play. I always knew I wanted to do an extra semester season. COVID kind of ended up messing that up a tad, but I knew I wanted to do it and just try beach and see how it went. So that was always at the forefront of my mind, but Texas never had the program until recently, so that was kind of my plan, was to grad transfer somewhere and give it a shot.
Yeah. Well, going to USC, what have they won? The last 3 national titles?
Last 4, yeah.
More.
Last 4. Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa. So made the team. Okay. That's pretty impressive. Going from indoor to beach. Mm-hmm. What's that transition like for a tall girl as yourself? Are we 6'4" or 6'5"?
Depends on what shoes I'm wearing, but somewhere in there.
Let's go with the tall ones.
Yeah, 6'5".
Okay, all right.
On an indoor court, I'm for sure 6'5". So, but it's totally a different game. And growing up, I was a middle and club and then outside in high school, so I started just getting in the sand a little bit so I get more passing reps. I just want to be able to pass more. So played a little bit of beach here and there, but nothing like super serious, just like for reps and just trying to get a little bit better about moving and with my long frame. And it helped a lot. And I loved it. Every time I was out there playing, I really had a great time. So I was like, maybe this is something I would want to take more serious and long term. And so it's kind of like my dream to do that. So I would come out to the South Bay in California and train every summer for like 2 or 3 weeks in our off time. We get like 2 or 3 weeks off in the summer. So I'd come out here and just kind of cross train a little bit. It made me so much better indoor, especially moving to pin hitter for Texas. It made me able to hit half-system balls a little bit better. That was always something that was a lot harder for me coming from a middle. I just didn't have the experience with it. So it allowed me to wait for high balls and move and just be a better all-around player. And so that also helped with my transition this last semester.
Before I even knew you, Molly, I really always loved your game and what you brought to that Texas volleyball program in terms of your courage, it's your confidence, it's you're just there, and you are such a key part. Maybe not the bright, shiny one all the time, but you are definitely the bright, shiny one all the time.
Oh, thank you.
I also loved, and maybe this is what I saw after you started doing more training on beach, is the shots you could make and just go, yeah, okay, nobody's over there. Just throw that ball over there.
Yeah, I definitely say beach.
Is that part of the change?
Yeah, I definitely think it did. And I guess like I've never been a super big power hitter, which is weird for Texas. I feel like most hitters in Texas are known for power. And so that is part of my game, but a lot of it is just seeing space and kind of being smart, looking for zones and open floor rather than trying to overpower a defender. So I do think the beach helped with that a lot. It makes you read and see the game and at a totally different level than most indoor players. So it was very helpful with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Vicious block over there. Great right side hitter. And you had power.
Yeah, it's there.
You bet. I saw it a lot. So, you have some pretty amazing accomplishments in the sport. Are there any memorable moments as a Texas Longhorn? I'm taking you for a little further, back. We'll get you out of USC for a second. That just kind of makes you smile, sends great feelings through your body. Mm-hmm. Maybe a couple goosebumps, maybe.
Yeah, there's plenty, honestly, with that program. That were such amazing experiences. We were always in a ton of really high pressure situations that we kind of had to perform, and everybody stepped up in different ways in every single game. You could go down a list of all those different situations, but I think my favorite games in my career have been the 2 recent Final Four games that we were in, so semifinal games. Both times been really tough opponents. I would say in the first year we won, so 2 seasons ago, San Diego was our Final Four match, and they were definitely our hardest match of the tournament. That was a very rough game. And that how we just like band together and came back from, we were down and out kind of. And so came back from that. And that was such an awesome game and gave us so much confidence to go into the final match and sweep 3-0. So I think that all happened for a reason. And that was a really cool experience and a really cool game to take. So I love looking back on that one and just for our first national championship. And then last season, like almost every game of the tournament, like was like a really like, oh my gosh, experience. Even our first round against A&M, like that was a crazy first round game. That was like the hardest first round game I think Texas has ever had. A&M should not have been that low in the tournament for sure. That was SEC is really good, so they just kind of got put there. But that was a really hard game, and we knew the A&M coach really well. He knew our program really well. He coached with us for a year. So they kind of had our numbers. So that was a tough game for sure, but really fun to, always fun to beat A&M, especially at home. So that was cool. But yeah, and then I guess the Tennessee match, that same tournament, that was Sweet 16. And Sweet 16 personally is like the hardest round of the tournament because for our program, like you should win. You should get past the Sweet 16. Like that's the view from the outside. But Sweet 16 is hard. It's teams that are all really good, but you should get past it. So it's like one of those gut check games. And that was Tennessee for us and went to 5. We should have lost that game like 4 different times. And so we kept on fighting. And I think after that game, we were all just like so like proud of how we played. And after that game, we're like, we're not losing now. Like if we've defied the odds in that game, like so many different times, like we're taking this. And so that was really cool and kind of propelled us through the next 3 rounds of the tournament. So that was really cool. And I guess the last one would probably just be our national championship match against Nebraska. That was like a fever dream. Looking back on it, it was so fast and furious. And honestly, like we had so many service runs. I like was hardly on the court. It feels like I was like off when Asia and Maddie were killing it in service line. So can't complain. I mean, they were doing their thing, but it was crazy and really unique game.
Yeah, it definitely was impressive. What you guys were doing in that championship match. It was your day for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I have watched you. So you had a lot of expectations. So your program has a lot of expectations. You mentioned in the Sweet 16 and, you know, we're supposed to win. We're supposed to win. How are you guys as a program? Were you given help in dealing with those pressures or have a mental toughness program? Or how did you guys develop that aspect of your game?
Yeah, I would say that we prepared for that every single day of practice. First off, our practice gym is definitely one of the hardest practice gyms in the country. Anyone on our sideline could go start at any other school. And I think we're speaking on our practice gym and just like the highest level that we have in there. And we're seriously like set up for success in our practice gym just for what we have on the other side of the net and or B-side. Well, they call themselves Tejas. We're Texas and B-side's Tejas. But they scout and have the other team scout down to a T. And they're outside on that side is doing exactly what outside we're going to face is doing. And they're executing it. Even if that means they're getting blocked every single time, like it doesn't matter. They're making us better. So I think the biggest thing that set us up for success was just we all bought into our mission. And it didn't matter what your role was. They were doing it at 100% and perfecting it. And it was awesome. And it's really hard to do that on a team and just embracing your role, especially when it's something you don't want it to be. And just realizing like if the 8 or 6 or 8 or however many on the court that are playing get a national championship, so do you. So I think it's just really embracing that. We did a really good job of that this year.
Yeah. That connectedness as a team, there's nothing like it. The game of volleyball sort of lends itself to the fact that you need other people for that play to happen unless you just spike the serve back over the net, which I don't think I have ever seen. So that's a pretty important part of the connectedness of a team in this sport. You mentioned role play or roles that you have to have on a team. You've got your starters, and then you might have your role players, or as you were talking about in the match preparation, having that your teammates make up the other team in every way, shape, and form possible. so you can prepare yourself. So how is being a role player, is there any of those positions at the University of Texas?
Yeah, I mean, my freshman year, that was kind of my situation. I started off the year playing middle. One of our middles got hurt, so I played middle my freshman year for about half the season, and then she came back, and then I turned into just a blocking sub. So I would go in and block on the right pin, probably once or twice each set. And so it's not a lot, and it's not a lot of action, but I knew that was my job. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do everything in my power to put up a good block for this 2 points I get to every set. And if they tip over the block, I'm going to pick it up because that's my only job. And so it's just like finding what your role is. And sometimes someone on the sideline, they lead the cheers, and that's the only thing you're going to do the whole entire season. But that means so much to our team, and like having a fun and inviting sideline that is into it and prepared to go in, but at the same time, like rallying the sidelines, rallying the fans. And it's like a momentum changer. This is a game of momentum. We know that. The Side Out Foundation knows that. We talk about that all the time. So I think just like having people that buy into that. There's literally so many roles you can come up with. Who carries the waters? Who hands them out at timeouts? if my person doesn't hand me my water at timeout, that could be a big deal. Like everything is so important. So just like figuring out what your role is and buying into it is literally the most important thing you can do.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like you've been trained to think, look, and talk like your greatest self there as individuals, and then also as a team, and that requires courage, really, when you're stepping in to have that kind of confidence. Let's talk a little bit about your transition then to beach. You came in, the season is happening. And it's probably a pretty quick transition. You mentioned a lot of new things that you're having to kind of get quickly in order to get up to speed.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind for sure, but USC is such a great program, and they were so inviting and like helpful throughout the whole thing. I guess we played the national championship like December, like 20 something, 19, 20, something around there. Like,
yep.
And then I went home for Christmas and was there for about a week or so. And I flew out to California on January 2nd. I was out there and had appointments that morning and started everything in the first week of January. So I guess about a week and a half of trying to shut my brain off and see all my family and friends and everyone that I could. My little break that I had was fast and furious, but moving out to California was also a huge change. I'm a Texas girl through and through, so I'm also a really big homebody, so that was a big difference being away from my family. My family doesn't miss a game, and so now my mom was just kind of traveling all over to come see all the games. She didn't have any home games anymore, so lots of traveling for her, which I'm so grateful for. But yeah, the transition was fast, got right into practicing. We had about a month that we practiced before season started. So really just trying to learn everything I could. And coming to USC, I'm surrounded by literally the best athletes in the country in this sport. So that was also like super cool to watch and just try to learn from them just as much from the coaches, just because how they played the game is such a high level that was so good for me to just see and be around. And that definitely made me better at a faster rate for sure. Mm-hmm. So just like kind of having humility too, knowing that it's not going to be perfect, like coming off of back-to-back national championships of a sport I've played since I was 12 and then going to a totally different sport, but still at a national championship level. It was definitely different, but it was fun. And it was good for me and like just something totally new. And I think I really needed it. And also just a little bit of a break from indoor was really good for me and has made me miss it for sure. So that's good. But yeah.
So what are your aspirations? Are we looking at playing pro, playing beach? Like where are you going with all this, Mom?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, as of right now, I'm moving out to California and training for beach and going to try the pro circuit and see how it goes. And I love beach a lot. It's so much fun. And I think that my ceiling in beach is really high. And I love the USA programs that I've been involved with so far, just the people and The community is great. So I'm kind of just jumping in and seeing where it will take me. I know it's a totally different animal, but I'm learning a lot and it's been a really good experience. So doing this for a while and seeing how it goes, giving myself a timeline there to try it out. And I don't know if it doesn't go how I hope, probably popping back to indoor. Really anything to avoid a 9 to 5 is kind of my plan.
Okay. So
Seeing how
there-
long my body will let me play volleyball, and then I'll figure out my next plan.
I think there's a lot of time there for you, Molly.
Yeah,
honestly.
hopefully. Yeah, but I love the sport, so.
Yeah. Yeah, you're really good at it too. And you are very
Thank you.
humble, that's for sure. Actually, I think when I was researching you, there was something you posted on Instagram that talked about being humble. I believe it was faith-based. So can you talk to us a little bit about how important that is in your life?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, like nothing I do I would be able to do without having Christ in the forefront, for sure. It's been such a big part of my life. Like since I was born, I was really blessed to have a great Christian home and brought up going to church and everything like that. But it wasn't really till college, I guess, that I really dove deeper into my faith, and it was my own thing rather than just being taken to church with your family. It's a totally different experience on your own. So I went to college and things got really hard and it wasn't perfect and my mom wasn't there to hold my hand all the time. So it was a lot of faith searching, and I realized like I literally can't rely on anything else other than my faith. So a lot of times you can get locked up, especially with sports and wins and losses and that being your identity, but it's so far from it. And diving into my faith really helps me with that, and knowing that like my rock and my worth is not defined in if I can hit a volleyball really hard or pass the ball well and serve receive, because I'm definitely not going to do that every time. So finding other ways to be happy and to find a purpose. So I've really tried to dive into that, and I found a great church in Austin, and I got baptized my freshman year of college. So it was a lot of growth for me personally when I moved, and now just trying to instill that into my play and making that visible as I play, because it really is the only true reason I try to be great in anything is to be great for him. So it's a really big part of my drive and my want, and really just my daily life for sure.
Yeah. It seems to bring a calmness over you and just a confidence, and maybe it's just your self-confidence. I'm always impressed with. And because of that, I see you do so many things, and you're involved with a lot of things. And one of those was being an intern here at the Side Out Foundation. But I see you involved in many programs out there helping in the community. So what was it? How did we get connected to Molly and the Side Out Foundation and Dig Pink?
Yeah. Well, lucky for me, I was talking to my coaches at Texas about like, I really want to do an internship. I was like, I really don't have solid job experiences. I've done a lot of little things here and there, and but not like something that's sustainable enough to put on my resume. So I was like, help, I need an internship. And I love nonprofit work. It's always been a big thing that's sat on my heart, especially like through my faith. I've always wanted to do mission work and just really help others in a way that's inspiring and moving and worthwhile. So I was talking to Jarrett and Jesse, my coaches at Texas at the time, and they put me in contact with Gary, and he was super helpful and jumped on the opportunity to help in any way, as he always does, which is so amazing. And so he helped me connect to the Side Out Foundation, as he's on the board and a chair member. So super helpful to introduce me to everyone, and the Side Out Foundation was amazing. And I really got to tap into my connections through volleyball and just kind of like my passion for volleyball and to help others, just like everyone at the Side Out Foundation has. And so it was a lot of just really like-minded people. It was super cool to see and helped me grow a lot too with getting out of my comfort zone and just like reaching out to people. I've not always been really good at that. I like talking to people if I know them. So sure. It was fun to kind of just get out of my comfort zone and be like, hey, I think you know me. Hopefully you know me. I had a really cool opportunity to be a part of the Side Out Foundation. So it was cool to talk about it and just share y'all's mission, which is so awesome. And I just loved getting to help in the small way I could for the semester, or the summer, but it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, yeah. It was great to have you on, and one of the things that you did with us also while you were out there reaching out to a lot of folks to understand what the Side Out Foundation does is you did a campaign. You did a Dig Pink campaign, and you and Sydney Hilly, Wisconsin setter back in the day, where the two of you were competing to share the information about the foundation and our work, and you raised some funds too. What was that like for you? Being in college at that time, you were still in college.
Mm-hmm.
What did that do for you when you accepted that challenge?
Yeah, it was really cool. First off, I just thought it was a really cool idea, bringing together two really awesome fan bases with Texas Volleyball and Wisconsin Volleyball. Those are two of the top programs that love their sport and love their team. So props to you guys. Amazing idea. So that was cool. And whenever you guys pitched it to me, I was like, yeah, I mean, I'd love to. Really love just helping the Side Out Foundation any way I can with my platform. I think it's really cool to use our platform for stuff like that. And we have the opportunity to just dive in and do it. So it was cool to post and just see how the fans responded. And a lot of people reached out to me about it and just asking questions or just like, hey, what is this? Or what does it mean? Or who am I helping? And it was really cool to help spread the word that way. But also just to see really who wanted to support was an awesome thing to see as well. And a lot of confidence in the people around me, which is really cool to see.
Yeah. So let's dive in a little bit to advice for aspiring athletes. What kind of advice would you give to a young person who's wanting to play volleyball in college to, maybe give them a little assist?
Yeah. I think just accepting that not every day is going to be perfect, and being okay with that. Whenever you decide to play college sports, it's going to be the best thing ever, but also the hardest thing ever. And I think that's why it's so rewarding. If it was super easy and a cakewalk, literally everyone would do it, and not everyone does it. So it's not a cakewalk, but it's really seriously the coolest experience. So I think just embracing the struggle and knowing that there's going to be something awesome on every single side of that. I really do believe that. And that's what Jarrett Elliott preaches a lot too, is that it's going to be the hardest 4 years of your life, but also the most rewarding. So just being okay with that. And also just enjoying the game and remembering that this is fun and you do this because you love it. It can feel like a job some days, but as soon as you start to feel like that, just come back to, why am I playing this sport? Why am I still doing this? In the end, you're voluntarily doing it. You don't have to do it. You could quit whenever you want. Not that you want to, but you really could. So
you could
remember that, remember that there's joy in it and that you're doing it because you love it. And yes, some days are going to be really bad, but there's more good than bad. And there's just connections you make for a lifetime. So just buckle up and enjoy the whole thing.
I do. The joy of sports, the connections you make with your teammates, with your coaches, even with opponents, and are all such amazing things for you. Let me ask you this. How has being a student athlete shaped you as a person?
Oh, a lot. I think being a student athlete has the obvious answer everyone talks about, but it's so true. Just time management and just making me realize what's important and what's not, and what needs to get done and what doesn't. You're going to have a really long to-do list, and the reality is you're not going to get all of it done. So just realizing what's important, what do I need to put my time into, what's a priority for me, and realizing your priorities are going to be different than other people's priorities, and that's okay. But just kind of choosing what you think is important and sticking with that, and knowing your characters and your morals, and just knowing that if you want to be in the gym and working hard, that's going to take a lot of sacrifice, and just managing your time that way. I think that's really shaped me into putting my priorities in line and knowing what I want to get done. And if I have a goal, I know how to achieve it. And that's definitely because of being a student athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And also just kind of talking about how I mentioned earlier, maybe I don't have a ton of job experience, but being a student athlete is a job. And I've developed a ton of skills through that, and taking on leadership roles, and being a captain on my team, and being a part of SAC, student athletic organization on campus, it all comes with things that are just like a job. So just recognizing that, and sometimes I used to beat myself up about not having jobs, but I had to realize, like, no, I have one.
You have
I
one.
work a lot. I work a lot of hours. So realizing that it's okay, even though I don't have like a salary, it doesn't mean I don't have a job. So those are definitely things that being a student athlete has shaped me for sure.
Yeah. I'm looking at with NIL and all the things, like the University of Texas is truly shining a bright light on the athletic program and of their athletes, and they're very proud of you all. They do have high expectations and they do work you hard. So being a student athlete on campus, walking over, well, you did walk to your classes, right? Walking towards your classes, or maybe you didn't. You have a moped.
Yeah, after COVID, not as much.
Yeah, what's that like, being a part of an athletic program that is, it seems to be so encompassing of everyone there that's in the athletic program?
Yeah, something that a lot of people would ask me why I wanted to go to Texas, and something that would always come to mind is I wanted to be surrounded by people that were like-minded like me and that wanted to be champions. And literally you walk into Tank, our dining hall where all the athletes eat, and there's like 5 Olympians over there and 15 national champions there. And like, I mean, everyone there is just like a champion. Like, in everything they do, they want to be the best. And that was so cool for me whenever I went on a visit there. And I was like, this place wins. Like, something about this school gets it done. And I thought that was so cool. And the Texas program hadn't had a championship in, I guess, 10 years. We had a 10-year drought before we won. And we had gotten so close every single time, the final 4 consecutive years, but we hadn't gotten over that hump. And I think, like, the idea of, like, oh, I want to help this school. I want to be a part of when this school gets their next national championship. And we had all the skills and ability to do it. And we have an amazing athletic director that pours into every single athlete. He loves every single athlete, knows every single athlete. And so that kind of support at a school that big is so huge. And so just seeing everybody around us all wanting to accomplish the same thing is really motivating. And I think that's a big key to success.
Yeah. I think leadership from the top down, when it starts and it's up at the top and it just works its way down, those are amazing places to be involved in. That's for sure.
So true.
So did you have any pregame rituals or superstitions as a indoor player or as a beach player? Were you one of those gals?
So I tried really hard not to, but you have to have a few. But I really did try hard not to. I think my freshman and sophomore year, I guess not as much my freshman year, I was kind of figuring out like what my routine was going to be. My sophomore and junior year, I kind of was like, oh, I have to wear like the same bra with the same jersey and everything has to be the same. And a lot of girls on our team had that. So I think that's also why we all kind of did, because we all were talking about it. So I tried to get away from that because that's such a simple thing that you could mess up. And I was like, I don't want that to be a reason I'm like stressed or whatever. Because I think every national championship game, I like screwed up really big on one of my superstitions. And I was like, this has got to be a joke. Like every time like, this happened, like I had one pair of socks that had a hole in them, a pretty big hole on the front, because we wear the really tall socks. And I was like, okay, well, it's packed because I just needed to take it and have enough socks. And I was like, but I can't wear this one if I make it to the national championship. Like, really, don't wear that pair. I get to the national championship game and I pull it out. Of course, it's the one with the huge hole in it. So for our first natty, I had those socks on. So then they were my lucky socks after that. But just stuff like that. So I really tried to get away from that. But one thing I did do before every game was brush my teeth before every single game. I'm not about to have stuff in my teeth on live TV. So
the pearly whites.
Yes, I had to be clean and white. But the last national championship, before the game, I got to the game and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have my toothbrush. So before that national championship game, I did brush my teeth, but somebody had floss, so I flossed. So it was fine. But stuff like that. It was so bad. But there's a few things that my dad is really great about leadership, and he leads me through sports in a really great way. And he's a really positive light and good rock for me. So there's a lot of little sayings he would tell me throughout my whole life since I was 12. So I would usually, on my scouting report, would write through and take notes about the scout, and then on the backside kind of jot down some of those motivational things and a lot of self-confidence moments. It would kind of get me zoned and ready for the game. So that was one thing that was more like routine rather than superstition. Like I didn't ever write the same thing, but it was just something that got me centered before the game, which was really important and worked really well for me. So
yeah, you seem to be you got a plan. You're kind of clear about your goals, and then do the work to get there. So at the University of Texas, what'd you graduate there? What degree did you have?
My undergrad was health and society, and then minored in health communications.
Okay. And then you transferred to USC, and there you're working on your master's.
Yes, it was kind of a long story. I got a graduate certificate in Texas because I graduated in 3 years. So then I did a certificate there in strategic communication. So I did that. And then when I got to SC, I only had a semester. So I started a gerontology master's.
Okay.
But I don't think I'm going to finish it because it's really expensive. So if I do end up getting a full master's on top of my certificate, I'll probably go back to an in-state school and do it. So probably do it online at Texas or something, but I personally just didn't want to spend that much if I wasn't going to be playing sports.
So when this is all over, what are you going to do when you grow up?
I don't know. I guess we'll see when I grow up.
Right.
No, my dream, I kind of touched on earlier, is to do medical mission work and do something like Doctors Without Borders and go on mission trips and help not necessarily hands-on like medical, but kind of admin. I really enjoy leadership roles in like hospital administration. My dad's a hospital administrator, so I've seen him do that, and wouldn't personally want his exact job. It's a lot, but the idea of the nonprofit side of like helping developing countries and anything like that is really interesting to me, and just how much access we have to healthcare here and how little they have other places. Just trying to help expand that in whatever way you can. It's a long process, but I just find that really interesting. So hopefully down the line, something of that sort.
Are you following the Olympics, the indoor and the beach right now?
Yeah, the beach location is awesome. I don't know if y'all have looked at that, but right over the Eiffel Tower. Oh, it's so cool. I'm like half the time I'm just watching it so I can stare at that Eiffel Tower. But it's a really cool setup, and the girls are killing it so far. I think they've won all of their matches that they've had. I know the indoor team just had a really rough loss. They played great. They came back from a 2-0 deficit and lost by 2 points in the fifth, but a lot of fight there, which is really cool. It's a long tournament, so I'm sure they will be just fine. But yeah, the beach has been super cool to watch, and I think it's cool this year because I followed beach a lot closer this quad, so kind of watching the girls, and our assistant coach at USC is coaching Sarah and Kelly, so it's cool to watch them, and he's helping coach that pair. He's out there right now, so cheering for them because he's such a great coach, and it's been really cool to watch him.
As coaches on the beach, they don't get to do too much.
No, not near as much.
Well, is there anything you would like to say about the Side Out Foundation or Dig Pink or volleyball?
Yeah, I think it's every single time I've been involved in Side Out Foundation or Dig Pink, it's been such an amazing experience. And you guys have always been so great, just understanding that my schedule is crazy and really just working with me. Even when I did my internship, my schedule is never really my own. It's kind of what I'm given. So y'all understand volleyball and understand the sport and understand that so well that it's so great to work with you guys. And I definitely feel heard and seen whenever I had ideas every single time that I was involved. And there's nothing that y'all do better than empowering young women. And it's just so awesome to be a part of and see that and see the leadership throughout everyone. So seriously, it's been an honor to work with you guys and to be on this podcast. I love getting to chat with you. I know that you are amazing at what you do, and it's so cool to see you just do it in so many different ways. So I really appreciate all the opportunities to get to know the Side Out Foundation and being involved with Dig Pink. I really don't take it lightly. So, and just all the work that you guys are doing is so amazing, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So it's cool to be a part of in any way that I can.
Well, keep spreading the word. We are doing some amazing things in our research, and our mission is still moving full speed ahead. And I know we were very thankful to have had this relationship with you. I thank you for being on today.
Yeah, thank you.
Best of luck, and wherever you're going, and maybe the beach part of this thing is, we'll see you in the next 4 years somewhere playing, right? Yeah, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. Please share your feedback with us at side-out.org.